So I've had the Zf for about 8 months now. I've shot 27 weddings and 32 engagement sessions with it. I know this camera inside out, and I'm here to tell you that this is a very viable option as a main camera for wedding photography. Hi, my name is Riyad Ramnat. I am a full-time wedding photographer here in Trinidad and Tobago, and I shoot an average of 40 weddings every year. And yes, my main camera is the Nikon Zf. Getting straight into the video, I want to talk about a couple of pros and cons of the camera, and I'm going to start with the pros. There are 4 main pros to the Nikon Zf, the first being the image quality. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the image quality because the images speak for themselves. The Zf has a 24.5 megapixel sensor, and I have never owned a camera that had a sensor larger than 24 megapixels. I am a wedding photographer. I don't need to make billboard size prints, so I never felt the need to have a 33 or 46 megapixel sensor. Also, I really don't drastically crop in my images, so having a larger sensor isn't something I ever wish I had. For me, this size sensor is perfect, and the files don't require a gym membership. In terms of colors and dynamic range, it is excellent. I feel like my under or overexposed photos, which are all 100% done on purpose for artistic reasons, are easy to fix in post because of the range this camera has. And I've always been a Nikon shooter, so I love the color science. It is very D750-esque, which was always my favorite Nikon camera. The next pro I'd like to talk about is the autofocusing system in the Zf. I use the face detection for 99% of a wedding day, and it never lets me down. And setting a custom focus area for the more tricky parts of a wedding day is very helpful. My primary lenses are the 35 and 85 1.4 by Sigma, and it's always fast to focus and tack sharp, even though these are third-party lenses. I've rented the Z8 for a few weddings as well, and I honestly don't see a huge difference in the focusing system of the two cameras. I'd go as far to say that I think the Z8 was slightly slower to focus in low light situations like the dance floor. The Zf has never let me down for dance floor photos, and dance floors here can get pretty dark. Okay, so moving on to the next pro of this camera, its durability. I haven't heard much people talk about its durability, and it's a shame because this camera can really take a beating. I've put this camera through hell since getting it, and a couple of those times I really thought I may have pushed it beyond its limit, but it has never failed me. I tend to do a lot of beach engagement sessions, and this camera has been splashed with salt water to the point of being completely wet, and I haven't had any issues whatsoever. And that's what I love about the build quality of Nikon cameras. They really are tanks. I've had a D7000, D600, D610, D750, Z6, and I've never babied any of them, and they've never failed me. The last quick pro of this camera is one that not all wedding photographers would find useful, but it's still worth mentioning, and that's the video specs. This is a very capable video camera. It shoots 4K 30 in full frame, 4K 60 in DX crop, and 1080p up to 120 frames, and it does 10-bit H.265. A really cool video spec is that this camera can shoot in Nikon N-Log. Now, I mostly use video for behind the scenes clips, so I don't really do professional video work, but if that's something you need, this camera can definitely perform for video. Now, before we move on to the few cons of this camera, I just want to mention how I use this camera on a wedding day, because I feel like there's a misconception that the only way to adjust the shutter speed and ISO on this camera is by using these dials, but it's absolutely not the case. I have the camera set up in such a way that I can change my shutter speed by simply turning the main command dial, which is how you adjust shutter speed on any other Nikon camera. To adjust the ISO, I hold the record button and then turn the main command dial, and for aperture adjustments I use the sub command dial. And now the dials on the top of the camera, just like me, are now useless and just there for aesthetics. Cons. Okay, so for the cons now, and we are starting with the elephant in the room, which is the ergonomics of this camera. As is, it is not great, and you'd probably destroy your wrist if you shot a whole day wedding with this. But there's a simple fix, which is purchasing a grip for it. I have 2 grips. I have this one, which is from Newer, and I have a smaller grip that I don't really use. Both of them feel really good to me. I just like the Newer one more because it has this red stripe, which is reminiscent of the classic Nikon F ZF3, and that makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. With the grip, it is perfect for me. I don't have huge hands, so I always enjoy shooting with a smaller camera body. And with the grip, this camera is perfect for me. I would say though that everyone's hands are different, so if you can try the different grips available, then that would be ideal. But yeah, 27 weddings and 0 issues with my wrist, hand, arm, pinky finger, pinky toe, everything is good. Okay, so con number 2, and that's the custom buttons. More accurately, the lack of custom buttons. There is one which is at the front of the camera and it's great. It's in a comfortable spot, but I just wish there were at least one more. I use this custom button for switching between FX and DX because I like to punch in sometimes, and I really wish there was one more custom button so that I can switch between the focus areas faster. But it is something I've learned to work with, and it wasn't really a deal breaker for me. Okay, so moving on to con number 3 now, and that's the battery life. The camera comes with one EN-EL15C, and for an 8-hour wedding day I usually use 2 of them, which isn't bad. However, if you have a bunch of older Nikon EN-EL15 batteries like the EN-EL15B or the original EN-EL15s, beware that those batteries are going to run down substantially faster. You'll be changing batteries like crazy, so if you only have the older ones, you'll probably want to pick up some of the 15Cs. Now you have the option of picking up third-party batteries. I think SmallRig makes batteries that are now compatible with the ZF, but I stick to the Nikon batteries because from experience I find those tend to last longer. The third-party batteries work great for a few months, and I feel like they start to lose their capacity as it gets older. And well, that's pretty much it for the cons. Now, none of these were big deal breakers for me. I feel as though the pros outweigh the cons, and there are definitely more pros than I spoke about. But to me, these were the specific pros of using this camera as a main wedding body. You get a lot of camera for the cost, and I am very satisfied with it. I hope that Nikon keeps updating this style and we get a ZF2 and ZF3 later down the line. I really love this camera, it suits me. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. If this video helped in your decision in getting or not getting a ZF, please let me know in the comment section. If you own a ZF, let me know your thoughts on it. And of course, it would be an absolute honor if you considered subscribing. Be a good human, enjoy the rest of your day.